Well, hello to the Fab Five. Cleo, Roman, James, Sterling, Winnie. Well, this was one very windy day, but I hope you are safe and happy today. It's got to be somebody's birthday somewhere. In fact, I think it was my grandpa's birthday, so that would be your great-grandpa's birthday. Today. So, no is probably somewhere in our book. There is definitely a dog in the book because it's another Scooby-Doo book. Me, that's who's reading the book. So before we start the book, we're going to see a lot of A's in the book. A's and were will be in the book. Let's look for out. I'm sure we'll see was. Big, because we know Scooby is big. M, will be in the book. So, what is this book? It is a story about the monster Mutt. Monster Mutt madness. Ooh, that looks like the monster Mutt. This is a Scooby-Doo mystery, and look at this is a chapter book. Oh, I don't know if we'll get through the whole thing today. There's lots of chapters. So let's see how far we can go, though. All right, so these are the stars of our book. We have, and they're Mystery Inc. We have Scooby-Doo, whose skills is he's loyal, super snout, snout is a nose, and this happy-go-lucky hound avoids scary situations at all costs, but he'll do anything for his Scooby snack. Well, who else is in this mystery gang? Well, it's Shaggy Rogers. Didn't know his last name before. Shaggy Rogers. He is lucky and he is healthy and has a healthy appetite. His bio is that he's a laid-back dude, would rather look for grub than search for clues. But he usually finds both. We know that grub is food. And then we have Fred Jones Jr. His skill is that he's athletic and he's charming. Bio, the leader and the oldest member of the gang, he's a good sport. And he's good. He's good at them too. Oh, he's good at sports too, yes. Then we have Daphne Blake. Skill is she's got brains and beauty. Bio is she's 16 and a fashion queen. Daphne solves mysteries in style. Then we have Velma Dinkley. Her skills are she's clever, highly intelligent. Although she's the youngest member of the group, she is an old pro at catching crooks. She's very good at looking for clues. So, our first chapter is Picture Perfect. The mystery machine pulled to a stop in front of the arena. The giant building was the location for many big events like music concerts, basketball games, and even monster truck races. Today, a different kind of gathering was being held at the arena. There's that machine. The mystery machine, which is a van there, see? The Liberty Dog Show, said Shaggy as he read the large banner over the front entrance. Like, did somebody enter Scooby in a dog show and not tell me? Well, we read her, said Scooby. Oh, don't worry, Scooby, said Velma. This stop is is official Mystery Inc. business. That's right, agreed Fred. We've been asked to check out the strange things that have been happening at this dog show. Mrs. Edna Jameson runs the show, and she invited us, said Daphne. Oh, my page isn't stuck together. There we go. Daphne pointed out the van window. I think that's her now. The gang climbed out of the van and joined a woman on the sidewalk. Mrs. Jameson? Asked Fred. We're Mystery Inc., and we hear that you have a problem with... Mrs. Jameson held up a finger and said, shh. Fred looked at the rest of the gang. Well, we're just here to help with... Velma began. Shh, Mrs. Jameson said. Why? Shh. What? Shh, shh, shh. Be quiet, finished Velma. Mrs. Jameson looked around, and she leaned in closer to the kids. I don't want the others to know I asked you to come, Mrs. Jameson said. And dogs have very good hearing, you know. Scooby nodded. Mrs. Jameson waved the gang forward. Come with me, please, she whispered. The woman led the gang to the side entrance. Once inside the large building, they followed her through a maze of hallways. She showed them into a small office and shut the door. The room was filled with file cabinets. Framed photos of dogs covered the walls. There, said Mrs. Jameson, and she plopped down on a chair. Oh, sorry about that, but I wanted to keep your visit a secret. Why? Asked Velma. Mrs. Jameson sighed. It's the last day of the dog show, and we've had so many people leave already. We've even lost one of the judges. She leaned forward. Something very spooky is scaring everyone away. Oh, don't worry, Mrs. Jameson, said Fred. We'll get to the bottom of this mystery. Velma smiled and said, It's what we do. What is scaring everyone away? Asked Daphne. Well, for starters, there are these ghostly howls, said Mrs. Jameson. Well, isn't that normal? Said Daphne. After all, this is a dog show, and some dogs like to howl. Mrs. Jameson shook her head. These howls are not coming from any of the dogs in the show. To be honest, they sound like they're coming from some kind of a monster. Shaggy gulped. Like maybe Scooby and I can go move the van, he said. Maybe to Canada. Scooby nodded. Yeah. No way, Shaggy, said Fred. I have a plan, and you two are going to be key players. Oh, come on, Fred, said Shaggy. Just once I'd like to watch one of your plans in action from a safe distance. Hey, don't worry. I'm not asking you to be bait for a trap, said Fred. I want you to pretend to be part of the dog show. There are plenty of spots open, said Mrs. Jameson. And I can take the place of your missing judge, said Daphne. Hey, good idea. Thank you. Meanwhile, Fred and I can snoop around and see who's trying to scare everyone off, said Velma. Well, before you start snooping, you'd better look at this. Mrs. Jameson picked up a photo from her desk and handed it to Fred. This was taken from one of our security cameras. The gang gathered around Fred to look at the photo. It showed a blurry image of a man running from two strange creatures. The beasts look like large dogs, but they have glowing red eyes with long, stringy hair. Shaggy gulped. I liked it better when it was just a creepy howl. Chapter 2, Undercover. I think we have a picture of that spooky looking dog, too. Okay, Chapter 2, Undercover. Shaggy and Scooby-Doo walked into a large grooming area. There were rows of tables where dogs were being brushed, shampooed, blow-dried. Some dogs rested inside large kennels. Scooby-Doo jumped onto an empty table. Getting him ready for the big show? Somebody asked. Shaggy looked up to see a man and a woman standing nearby. A small white dog stood on their table. Yeah, said Shaggy. I'm Shaggy, and this is Scooby-Doo. I'm Rick, and this is my wife, Ellen, said the man. Ellen pointed to the dog on the table. And this is Boomer. When Boomer heard his name, he stood straight up, held his head up high, and pointed his tail. Wow, said Shaggy. He's very pointy. Rick laughed. That's his show pose. Boomer is very proud of it. Shaggy nudged Scooby. Come on, Scoob. Show them your pose. Huh? Said Scooby. Shaggy leaned in and said, We are undercover, remember, Scoob? Okay, said Scooby. He got on his feet and stood on the table, thought for a moment, and then Scooby raised his front arms, shut his paws into fists, and look at that. That's different, said Ellen. Rick pointed across the large area. Hey, look. Wait a minute, did I miss a page? 22. No, I didn't. Rick pointed across the large area. Look, there he is. Scooby relaxed, and he and Shaggy saw what Rick pointed at. Walking there, in walked a woman with a large poodle. She looks a little bit like her poodle, doesn't she? The poodle's curly white fur was shaved, so it looked as if he had a large white cotton balls all over his body. That's Jocelyn LaRue with her poodle, Percival. Percival has won the Liberty Dog Show for the past 4 years. Rick turned back to Boomer, and he began to brush the little dog. It's going to be tough to beat him. Shaggy picked up a brush. Oh, yeah, right. And he brushed Scooby's back. That tickles, said Scooby. Shaggy continued to brush Scooby. Then Scooby stopped giggling and raised an ear. Hey, who's whistling? Shaggy looked around. I don't hear anybody whistling. All the other dogs looked around and they heard something too. All dogs, please make your way to the main judging area, said a woman's voice over the loudspeaker. All of the owners walked their dogs out of the grooming area. Shaggy and Scooby were the only ones left in the room. Like I heard that, said Shaggy. Were you talking about that woman's voice? Scooby said. It was a whistle. Oh! A ghostly howl filled the air. Shaggy's legs began to shake. You're sure it wasn't a spooky howl? Because I just heard one. Just then the door burst open and 2 large creatures came crashing into the room. They each had glowing red eyes and were covered with long, stringy fur. Do we have a picture there? We do. Oh, look at, they are pretty scary looking, aren't they? Whew. They growled, showing mouths full of large teeth. Like it's the monster Mutts from the picture, yelled Shaggy. Scooby and Shaggy were frozen in fear as the animals moved closer. Like I have an idea, Scoob, said Shaggy. What? Let's run. Chapter 3. Be brave. Fred and Velma walked through the vendor area. People were selling all kinds of dog products, from collars to costumes to squeaky toys. Do you think any of these vendors would want to close down the show? Asked Fred. I don't see why, replied Velma. They seem to be making a lot of money from all these dog owners. Fred and Velma went up to the vendors selling small silver tubes. Having trouble training your dog? The man said. If so, why not try a dog whistle? It's a whistle only dogs can hear. The man blew into the little silver tube. No sound came out, but a nearby dog turned its head and looked at the man. Hey, that's neat, said Velma. But we don't need a dog whistle for Scooby. All we need is a box of Scooby snacks, said Velma. Said Fred. Fred and Velma walked by more tables and they saw dog brushes, dog beds, dog treats. One stand had a small crowd in front of it. Is your dog scared of thunder? Asked a man, or the vet, or a mailman. And he held up a small cardboard box. The box had a picture of a dog wearing a cape, like a superhero. Well then, you need a box of spunky snacks, the treats that guaranteed to turn your dog from a scaredy cat to a brave dog. Fred looked at Velma. Hey, maybe Scooby could use a box of those. Just then, the door at the other side of the vendor area flew open. Shaggy and Scooby ran through. Look out, shouted Shaggy. Crazy monster dog on the loose. Shaggy and Scooby drove headfirst into a box full of fluffy dog toys. Toy animals and white stuffing flew out everywhere. Fred and Velma looked at the doorway. I don't see anything, said Velma. Velma and Fred marched over to the giant pile of stuffed toys, and they began to pull away the stuffed animals. They uncovered Shaggy and Scooby, who stared straight ahead without blinking. Look at that. Ooh. They were trying to blend in with the other stuffed animals. Hey, you can drop the act, guys, said Fred. Shaggy and Scooby looked at each other. Are they gone? Asked Shaggy. There's nothing chasing you, said Velma. Shaggy and Scooby climbed out of the box. Phew, said Shaggy. Looks like we lost them, buddy. Lost who? Said Velma. Like the monster mutts from the picture, replied Shaggy. They had big teeth, glowing red eyes, and shaggy fur. They were very, very scary, said Scooby-Doo. Oh, sounds like your dog could use a little bravery, said the voice behind them. Everyone turned to see the salesman they had saw earlier. He tipped his hat. Alfred Whitman is the name, and spunky snacks are my game. And he held up a box of snacks. Made with all natural ingredients, these tasty treats will make any dog as brave as can be. He reached into the box, pulled out a snack, and tossed it to Scooby. The dog caught the treat and gobbled it in one bite. Scooby's ears picked up as he chewed it. Yummy, yummy. What do you think, Scoob? Said Shaggy. Do you feel braver? Scooby looked around and said, Why, I think so. Well, that's good, said Velma. Think he is braver? Let me make sure I only turned one page. Yep. You shouldn't be in the main judging area with all the other dogs. Oh, shouldn't you be in the main judging area with all the other dogs? Asked Velma. Oh, yeah, said Scooby. Shaggy gulped and pointed to the doors leading to the main arena. You mean out there with all those people watching us? He turned to Mr. Whitman. How about a spunky snack for me, too? Mr. Whitman looked confused. Well, son, it's supposed to be just for dogs. Velma shook her head. Just go with it. Yeah, agreed Fred. Shaggy eats Scooby snacks all the time. Well, okay, said Mr. Whitman, and he tossed a spunky snack toward Shaggy. Like thanks, Mr. Whitman, said Shaggy, and he and Scooby ran towards the doorway. I feel braver already. One more chapter we're going to read. Chapter 4. Show Pose. Daphne followed the other two judges, Mr. Williams and Mrs. Kavner, as they looked over each dog. All around them the audience watched. Daphne and the judges were almost finished going down the long line of different kinds of dogs. Here we have a Scottish Terrier, said Mr. Williams. The older man approached a small gray dog, and he stroked the dog's fur and said, Shiny coat and good muscles. Mrs. Kavner leaned in and marked something on a notepad. Good form, the older woman said. Daphne felt as if she had to say something. And his blue collar really brings out the color of his eyes. The judges turned and stared at Daphne. Just then, she saw Shaggy and Scooby in the judging area. They fell into place at the end of a long line of dogs. Meanwhile, the other judges moved on to the next dog. A large dog stood on the floor next to his owner. Mrs. Kavanagh said, "Pull out in a notebook, German Shepherd." She and Mr. Williams began to check the dog out. Daphne reached down and stroked the dog's fur. "Wow, his coat is so soft." She looked up at the dog's owner. "What kind of shampoo do you use?" The young man looked confused and said, "Pup so soft?" Daphne ran her hand through her own hair. "I might have to try that myself." She made a mark in her notebook. Extra points for using good hair products. The other two judges stared at Daphne again. Daphne followed them as they moved toward Shaggy and Scooby. Scooby sat on the floor and scratched himself behind one ear. "Oh my," said Mrs. Kavanagh. "And here we have a Great Dane, I think." Here he is. Yeah, said Shaggy, and he nudged Scooby. "Give them your show pose, buddy." That's a show pose. "Very unusual," said Mrs. Williams. "Not that one," said Shaggy. "The one Boomer showed you." Whoa. He stood on all four paws and raised his head up high and pointed his tail. "Yeah, much better," said Mrs. Kavanagh. She reached to feel the front legs. "Oh, good muscles." "Hee hee 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 hee." Scooby giggled. "What are you doing, Scooby?" said Daphne. Scooby flipped over onto his back, giggled some more. "Rickles." Mr. Williams shook his head, made a mark in his notebook. Oop. Here we have, "What are you doing, Scooby?" Is there a talent part in this show?" said Shaggy, "because Scooby does a great cha-cha-cha dance." "Yeah," said Scooby, and he jumped up about 2 feet and began to dance. Wah, wah, ta-ta-ta, wah, wah. "Save it for the agility part of the show," said Mrs. Kavanagh. "What's that?" asked Shaggy. "Well, that's where we see how quickly and easily dogs can run through a special obstacle course," said the woman. And I believe, 2 more pages to end our chapter. As the 2 older judges walked away, one of Scooby's ears popped up and he heard a whistle again. "Whistle, Raggy, a whistle." "I don't hear a whistle," said Daphne. "Howl!" An eerie howl filled the air, and the dogs, their owners, and the entire audience looked around, frightened. "I'll try to keep everyone calm," said Daphne. "You two find out what's happening." "You can count on us," said Shaggy. "After all, we just had spunky snacks." Shaggy and Scooby ran across the arena floor to the side door. They pushed through and found themselves in one of the halls. They also found themselves face to face with 2 monster mutts. "Grrr!" The spooky dogs growled, and they stared with their glowing red eyes. Shaggy gulped. "I think we're going to need a lot more spunky snacks." And that's the end of chapter 4. And we will continue chapter 5 the next time we get together to read. So I've got to put a bookmark here. Oh, I found a good bookmark. So that we will know this is where we stopped. Woo! Okay, well, that's our story for today. And the next time we get together, we will hear more about the monster butt madness. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Love you all. Mwah! And hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.